Hi everyone, this is Robbie with Warrior Spirit Teachings. How's it going? It's been a while since I've put out a video, since I've shared my messages with you guys. My life has definitely been interesting the last year, as I'm sure all of your guys' lives has been as well. There's just so much going on in everybody's individual little worlds and the world at large, but it's been good. I definitely took a little bit of a detour, was focusing on different things in my life, but now I'm back and I'm really excited, and I hope you guys are too. I'm excited to share some new messages with you, some different spiritual teachings. Just ready to get in and get with it. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, I really would appreciate it if you did. I think that my videos and the ones that I have in mind for down the road, I feel like they are going to be great. I'm actually really excited, and so I hope you are too. So, it's crazy to be back. But anyways, today I actually want to talk a little bit about triggers. So, triggers. That term. So, I'm sure that most of you have heard of that. I think everybody's heard of the word trigger before. But the reason why I wanted to do this video today is because it's just interesting. There's been a lot of things that have came up in my life recently that have triggered me. And I would say probably the last 2 weeks. And so when I say trigger, I mean really create a deep emotional response where, it either really makes you mad or really makes you sad or spikes up your anxiety, maybe even to the level of a panic attack. I'm sure that, if you've watched some of my videos, you'll know that I have quite a few different videos on mental health, anxiety, and I plan to do a lot more because personally that's something that I've struggled with majority of my life, from a small child all the way up. I actually didn't even know what was going on for majority of my life. I think that I knew that I had anxiety, or what anxiety was when I actually was in college. I think I was like a sophomore in college, and I found out about it and realized that's what's going on with me. And being the person I am, I'm a lot more laid back than I used to be, but I definitely have a type A personality. I like to be in control. I like to get things done. And so to have anxiety was extremely scary because I didn't understand what is this, and I couldn't control it. And actually trying to control it would make it worse. So I don't want to digress too much, because if you have anxiety, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't had anxiety, I'm happy for you. But, it comes and goes, and anybody can experience it at any time. So, that's what's been going on with me, is like those triggers, these things, these situations, and these things that people have said and done recently in the last 2 weeks have definitely created some intense emotional responses from me. So I just want to share that a little bit with you guys and kind of talk about it, because I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you clicked on this video, you know about triggers, and I want to talk about how to work through them and how to move past it and heal. So typically when a trigger happens, and you probably know about it as well, so when it happens, you're kind of caught off guard. Because if you think anything like me, you realize you're like, okay, I'm an adult. I've been through some stuff in my life. I've been through some tough situations. I've dealt with some angry, angry, hard to please people. And I've dealt with this stuff before, so why am I feeling so triggered? Why am I having such a deep emotional response right now? And the biggest thing to understand about a trigger is it's an emotional response. And so an emotional response, emotions are irrational. So there isn't always an explanation for them. Like we think, if we're trying to figure it out in our logical mind, like I was, you can't figure it out. Because emotions, they stem from, when you're being triggered, it stems from a trauma that's happened in your life. Whether you were a child, an adult, or an adolescent. I guess I was going to try to flip it. I was trying to say, as a child, adolescent, and adult, any of those stages of life, something happened that was traumatic to you. And it was either something that somebody said, a situation that happened, whatever it was, and it hurt you deeply and it scarred you. And so that trauma is associated to that trigger. And so when you're triggered, that is actually supposed to be a warning flag, like little bells going off, ding, ding, ding. That means that that's something you need to look into, to reevaluate, after the situation has passed. Sit down, if you can, get in a quiet place, and then think about it. Why did that thing that person say, why did that trigger me so deeply? And oftentimes you'll actually be surprised when you start to break it down and kind of dissect it, that it wasn't really what the person said or the person themselves. It was actually connected to a certain time in your life where you felt extremely vulnerable and you felt that you didn't have control, that someone had control over you, that your will was taken away, that you're in an extremely vulnerable place, kind of like your back was up against the wall and you didn't have anywhere to go. And, there was no way out. You're kind of like in that fight or flight response, And so basically that trigger, it's just coming back, showing that fight or flight response, showing you that trauma. And so this is amazing, actually. I know I sound crazy, but it's true. It's amazing because you're shown this opportunity to heal yourself. If you really take the time to sit down by yourself in a quiet space, and maybe even journaling, writing it down will help a little bit, and think back to and dissect, what did that person say and how did it make me feel? And then try to look at it from a farther perspective away, like a bigger perspective, and bounce back to looking at your life. What does this remind you of, this certain instance? So as an example, something that triggered me deeply this week was, so I have another job. I do this on the side. And hopefully one day this will be my number one job and I'll do this full time. That would be so amazing, to just work for myself 100%. So that's the goal. So, like I was saying, I was working at my normal 9-to-5 job, and a situation happened, and somebody came to me and said something that was really demeaning and harsh and not at all what I meant. Like, what I mean is, they couldn't see me for what I was doing. They couldn't see me as a person and why I was doing the things that I was doing. They took it completely wrong. And so when that happened, it made me get triggered. And it made me feel instantly like a little kid again. I felt like vulnerable, and I just couldn't understand how come they would see me in such a negative light. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I would never do that. I would never intentionally try to hurt somebody, screw somebody over, anything like that. Like, I truly have good intentions for everyone that I encounter in life. And I don't believe in dwelling in the negativity. I don't believe putting others down. I don't believe in jealousy, trying to screw somebody over, like, haha, I got you. Like, I don't do that. That's just not the person I am. So when I'm being told this, you did this, and you did this, and I'm just like so appalled, like, oh my God, like, what? I didn't do any of that. Like, that's not what I meant to do. Like, you're seeing the situation completely wrong. And, and so I got triggered and put in that flight or fight response. My anxiety goes through the roof. And it just bothered me so bad. It got to the point where, like, I was trying to get up there really high and have a panic attack. Because the thing is these issues have been continuing with this certain individual. And so it's like I finally like hit my limit, and it just really, really bothered me. So, okay, that ends, and I go home and, cook my dinner, relax, and then I sit down and I start to really think and really dissect it. Like, why was it that I got so upset by what that person said? And I broke it down, and it was like, okay, do I have an issue with this person? Like, is this person just somebody that, we just don't vibe? Like, it's like our frequencies, our energies, our souls, we just don't really match. Like, is it something like that, in deep? Or is it what the person said? And I'm breaking it all down, and yeah, what they said wasn't nice. But when I sat back and really thought about it, it's like, no, actually, that was triggering me because it reminded me of a time in my childhood where I felt really vulnerable. I was in a situation similar to that, and it made me feel like I had my back against the wall, like I had nowhere to turn. And I just, I was a kid at that point in time in this situation, and so I had no control. I had no free will of what I thought, because well, when your parents are cornering you, so it reminded me of a situation from my childhood where I was feeling so vulnerable, back against the wall, I felt like there was no way out, and I had no control. My free will was taken away from me, and then it was just tough shit. That's how it is. And that's what it reminded me of, being kind of like helpless, and having somebody view you in such a negative light and make it like it is the gospel. Like, you did this. You are this. Why are you doing this and being this way? When you know that you're not. And so Anyway, I realized that was actually a trauma from my childhood that I still haven't healed. And that has kind of been a theme throughout my life, is I'm really misunderstood. I'm misunderstood by a lot of people in my family. I was really misunderstood by my own father for so many years. And so actually, this situation that I'm talking about that triggered me at work, it was also by a man. And so that was similar to my father. And so that really paralleled, and that really just hit me hard. But like I said, it's so important, because after you get out of the triggering emotional response, that situation, you go and you sit down and really dissect it and analyze it and break it down. You'll realize where it's actually coming from. It's like, yeah, that person, like I said, it wasn't very nice what he said and how he acts. However, it didn't need to elicit that type of an emotional response from me. And it went to show me that it was the fact that I had this deep emotional wound from my childhood. And so now that I know that, it's like you bring that to the light, bring that to the surface. Now you actually know where to start, and you know how to start healing and working on that. So that when similar situations happen and you're being triggered again, you won't be triggered again. Because you worked through it, you healed it, moved past it. And then you can have a normal emotional response to it. Like, oh, that guy's a real jerk. Like, who peed in his Cheerios kind of thing. And just kind of brush it off. Rather than letting it completely take root and make you vulnerable and make you feel like that small child who was vulnerable, didn't have control, had their free will taken from them, and seen in a negative light. So, anyway, I hope that was maybe a good little insight for you. How to maybe make sense of it when you are triggered at work or at a situation, just when you're out in public and maybe you come across somebody that's, an angry stranger or something like that. And when you have these type of intense emotional responses, a trigger, to realize that, like I was saying, it's a flag, it's a bell going off, like ding, 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 like this needs to be healed. And then to break it down, kind of dissect it and figure out what trauma is this linked to. And then from there, when you actually know what's going on, and you've connected the dots, then you can start working on trying to heal it. Great ways to try to help heal things is, talk it out with a trusted friend or a counselor. Or if you don't have that and you just prefer to do it on your own, which I do oftentimes, is, just journal. Just be unfiltered and raw, and just completely sit there and sit with your journal and let yourself really think and really feel. And so, if you get mad and you want to kind of yell and cuss, do that. If you want to get sad and you want to cry, let yourself cry. Getting out all those emotions, it's so healthy. And that is what is going to help you heal and move past that trauma. And the other thing too is that I should have mentioned is to have patience with yourself, to realize, yes, you are an adult. No, you're not crazy because you got triggered and had, an exaggerated emotional response to something that maybe that you feel you should have maybe just reacted to and been like, oh, that guy is kind of mean. And then kind of get mad for a second maybe, or hurt for a second, and then move on. So no, you're not crazy because you got triggered. It's okay to have these deep emotional responses. However, the point is to try to sit with it and heal it, to be kind to yourself, and to treat yourself how you would a little child, because oftentimes these triggers are from childhood traumas or adolescent traumas. And so to just really have patience and have love and acceptance, and know, and if you have to, like, visualize yourself as a small child, and then you have to just work with yourself and show yourself that love and attention. And the thing is too, is oftentimes a trauma isn't going to just, like a trigger isn't going to be healed overnight. And so it will probably most likely happen again. But that's when you sit back down and you do it all again. Dissect it and work through it, and just keep on healing and keep having patience with yourself. And soon you'll move past it, and you'll come to terms, and you'll realize, and you'll feel better. And I guess it's not always about realizing, like being in your mind. It's your body will realize. Your emotional body will realize. You'll start to just feel good and know that it won't happen again. The same situation could happen and you barely respond to it because you've moved past it. You've healed. So, I feel like that's all for today. And if you have any questions, have any comments, any feedback like that, I'm always welcome to it. So go ahead and, write down whatever in the little comment section. Make sure and like and subscribe. I'm excited to get things going again, get things rolling. I'm not sure exactly about my schedule, like when I'll be posting up videos, if it'll be weekly, bi-weekly, something like that. I think I'm leaning more towards bi-weekly, but I just want to get into all different types of things, I want to get into more things for mental health, for help healing the emotional body. I want to get into more spiritual concepts, into some metaphysics. I want to get into some Lakota beliefs, some spiritual, well, I guess it would just be spiritual concepts, teachings that were passed on by Floyd Hand, this amazing medicine man that spent so much time with me and my family. And I want to share some of his teachings and some of his stories, and just really, just pay homage to him and how great of an amazing man he was. And so, if you've watched my previous videos, he passed away a couple years ago now, but he's still active and lives in all of our hearts. And so I'm really excited. Have, like I said, a vast array of topics that I want to get going and stuff, and hopefully this message resonated with you. Hopefully some of this you can take with you and maybe use in your life when you're feeling triggered, and hopefully then you can heal too and move past it. And it's not, I hope you can, because I know you can. You got this. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have an amazing day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.